Have you been in love? I had recently joined a tuition center in my city and everything seemed great. A few of my old friends from primary school were also there, so I quickly settled in. One of my closest friends, Joe, soon confessed he had a crush on a girl from our class, Julia. I encouraged him to go for it and just a week later, at 1 in the morning, he called to tell me that she had said yes. Naturally, I was happy for him. Over time, Julia and I became friends too, but it was strictly platonic. We followed each other on Instagram but didn't really talk much. However, Joe's behavior in the relationship quickly became erratic. He started flirting with other girls, even in front of Julia, and she soon began to feel uneasy. Eventually, Joe's best friend Bob got involved. Bob and I had been friends since childhood, but Julia hadn't known him until one day when he showed up at the tuition center to mediate between them. Soon, Bob and Julia started talking more, exchanged numbers, and before long, they were dating, only a month after Julia had broken up with Joe. It was surprising because Bob, despite always saying Julia wasn't his type, quickly fell for her. They seemed happy together, and I genuinely enjoyed seeing them as a couple, until Bob cheated on her. It wasn't physical, but he started dating his ex behind Julia's back. Julia found out and ended things with him, but Bob was devastated, or so he claimed. He didn't admit the truth to me, but Julia did, much later in February. Bob had also hurt me during this time by talking to a girl I was interested in, and it felt like a double betrayal. By December, Bob and Julia had patched things up and despite my anger at Bob for what he'd done, I stayed friends with him. In January, Bob asked if I would be a witness to his secret marriage to Julia, but I refused. I felt conflicted, knowing their history, but I didn't want to interfere. Then in February, Bob cheated again with the same ex, though him and weren't married yet. A few months later, in April, they went through with the marriage anyway. I was shocked but said nothing, only congratulated them. It wasn't a surprise when, just 2 months into the marriage, they divorced. Bob had cheated once again. Julia was devastated and turned to me for support. This was when my feelings for her began to deepen. I wanted to protect her, to shield her from any more pain. For her birthday, I made her a custom jar filled with 200 motivational quotes I'd painstakingly put together, along with a beautifully designed card and her favorite perfume. We grew closer during this time, although we weren't dating. There was an unspoken connection between us and she often hinted at it. Once she said, "You're mine first, then everyone else's. I can't share you." She even asked me to go to a movie with her, which I gladly did. But then, out of the blue, she told me about a boy she liked. It crushed me, but I couldn't react. We weren't together after all. Soon she started ghosting me, saying she needed space. I tried to give it to her, but the silence hurt more than anything. She reappeared after a few days only to ghost me again for 10 more. Those days were some of the hardest I've ever experienced. I cried more than I ever had before. When she finally reached out, our conversations felt empty. I told her how much her absence hurt, but she seemed indifferent, saying she needed sleep. That was the last I heard from her. Now, looking back, I realize it was my first time truly falling in love. It consumed me. I couldn't look at another girl without feeling like I was betraying her. Everything had changed, and I still can't shake the feeling.